10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All right, we're going to talk about line. So there's all kinds of lines in our environment. We see lines in the trees. There's like thin lines of the little twigs. There's the thick lines of the trunks. There's medium lines of the branches. There's lines in the leaves. And there's lines in our railroads, and our houses have lines. You can see a lot of the horizontal lines up there, but there's also the lines that are the outline of the house. Lines are made to communicate to us. So, for example, a double yellow line means you do not pass when there's a double yellow line. So, with all those lines in our environment, they are an important part of our lives. All right, the definition of a line is a mark drawn with a pointed moving tool. And by the way, and it is also the path of a dot through space. This is supposed to be, it's supposed to say Picasso down there. So what Picasso has done in these photographs is he's holding a light, and then he's waving the light around in a way to draw a picture. So with the camera and its aperture opened up for an extended period of time, and he waves the light around and it draws the picture. On the left, he's drawn a vase of flowers, and on the right, he's drawn a woman. The viewer's eye usually follows the line's movement, and artists use line to control the eye's movement. So in this painting right here by Grant Wood, called Paul Revere's Ride, the main line in the picture is this road down here. And as the road snakes around, it guides the viewer's eye. And so it guides the viewer's eye into the town where we see Paul Revere running, and then it guides our eye out of the town where we can see the British soldiers are coming up here. You can see their lanterns. There's also another strong line in here, and that is the steeple. And then there's other lines like the stream over here, and some of the other elements of the picture. All right, the book defines an implied line as a series of points that the eye automatically connects. So with the photograph on the left, the fence on the beach, all these slats of the fence are placed next to each other to create this line snaking its way through the sand dunes. In the photograph on the right, these footsteps create an implied line going through the sand on the beach. If you think about a line of cars in a row or a line of people in a row, these are both examples of an implied line, a series of points the eye automatically connects. With the line of cars, each point is a car, and with the line of people, each point is a person. So there's different kinds of line. We have vertical, horizontal, diagonal, curved, and zigzag. Vertical means up and down. So we see the lines of the columns behind this woman right here. And they have the fluting on them that creates these vertical lines. And then there's the lines of the telephone poles that are vertical, and the lines of the trees that are vertical. Now, if you think about columns and telephone poles and trees, do these seem like things that move to you? Like a column is a very still thing. Telephone poles are very still. Trees are very still. They don't move around. So that's the point that I'm trying to get to you, is that vertical lines are very still. They're very stable. They're very strong, but they don't imply movement. So vertical lines are stoic, inactive, and static. They express dignity, stability, poise, stiffness, and formality. So when we look at images from art history, for example, this Byzantine mosaic, everybody that is here, all the people that are here, are in very vertical poses. They're just standing straight up. There's not a lot of movement going on. They aren't moving around. They're not energetic. And it creates this strong but stoic and boring composition. These Newman paintings, where he has these what he calls zips. These are vertical lines on the painting. Again, another Newman painting with his vertical zips. And Giacometti sculptures are very vertical. They're very tall and thin. They do not express a lot of movement. They express stillness, calm, and peace. So when we get into other like anytime you have this a sculpture of a person, a single person that's standing, that has a very vertical energy to it. He's not moving around. He's not, but also his pose though, he's trying to like he's not trying to, but he's moving a little bit away from being totally boring, totally still, and like almost like a mannequin. But he's with this pose with the contrapposto that moves it a little bit away from completely vertical, but it's vertical enough that this is a very static, a very stoic, and even in this case, a heroic pose. But it doesn't imply a lot of action. This painting by Manet, all the figures in here are very stoic. They're not moving around. They are vertical. Look at all the vertical lines of the people that they're just standing there. With a crucifixion, we have that vertical line of the crucifixion or of the cross, and that create this not a lot of action. Like Jesus isn't going anywhere; he's nailed to the cross, and the people that are around it are just standing there. They're not. But we do see a little bit of a curve in the figures on the left. However, it's a very stoic composition because there's a lot of verticality in it. Horizontal lines are also stoic or inactive. They express feelings of peace, quiet, rest, and stability. In this Hopper painting, look at how horizontal it is. I see a lot of horizontal lines. You can see like the top of this building right here is horizontal, but there's these like little lines in the architecture. This row of windows, this implied line, is horizontal. This row of windows and storefronts is also horizontal. And then the shadows on the sidewalk and the curb of the street, these are also horizontal lines. So it gives the feeling of quiet and rest. And also the fact that there's no people in here, there's no movement, exaggerates that feeling of peace and rest. It looks very sleepy. In fact, to me, this looks like sunrise because the sun would have to be very low on the horizon to make shadows like this. And I would think that a street like this would be much quieter in the sunrise than it would be in sunset, where everybody is up and around and moving around. We have the horizontal line of the wall in the back, but also that also exaggerates the lack of energy and movement in this painting. That the majority of lines in this painting are either vertical or horizontal with the wall and the guns. Curved lines are active lines and show movement. Diagonal lines are active lines and express instability, tension, activity, and excitement. In this drawing or print by Thomas Hart Benton, we see a lot of diagonal lines. If you look at the ceiling, there's a lot of diagonal lines with the slats of the wood in the ceiling. If you look at the floor, there's a lot of diagonal lines there. And this little carpet right here is made of diagonal lines. And then the people are all made with curving lines. If you even look at their arms, their arms are not straight lines. They are all in curves. The dresses, the pants, those are all curved lines. So in this, the curved lines add to excitement and movement. The diagonal lines add to the excitement and movement. And if you want your drawing or your artwork or your painting, even your sculpture, to look like it's full of energy and action and movement, put a lot of diagonal lines or curved lines in it. That helps give it the feeling of energy and movement. Also, if you look at this painting, I always think that if I were to stand in that room, I might lose my balance, and I could even almost hear all the thumping of the people dancing and the fiddler playing and the swaying of the lamp at the top. It just looks like a very energetic and exciting little room or little party that they're having. Back in the 70s, a very standard how to draw book was this book by Stan Lee, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. And one of the lessons that he has in there is making your drawings look more exciting. So if you look at these two little sketches, both of them show somebody running. The one on the left is more realistic. That's how people actually run. And the one on the right is more energetic. And look at how the one on the right is much more at a diagonal. So it adds interest, it adds movement to have things as a diagonal instead of straight up and down, more vertical. This person, both people are getting punched, but the one on the right, it looks like it's more active, it's more energetic because of that big curve that is in there, of the curve of him flying backwards. Both of these guys are standing and pointing, but the one with his legs spread wider is more interesting to look at because of the diagonals that are in it. It's more energetic, it's more heroic. And then here we have a series of poses, and Stan Lee is saying that the best poses are the ones that are at the extreme ends of this movement right here, and the weaker poses are the ones that are more normal or the more realistic. Again, so in the comics, it is more interesting to have things at a diagonal. It is more interesting to have things at a diagonal in the comics. So we get this in art when we look at the statue of David. For Verrocchio, Donatello, and Michelangelo's David, all three of these are, let's see, do we have, no, all three of these are stoic because they are just standing there. But Michelangelo's painting of David is dynamic and full of action because it's in the middle of the action, but also because there's so many diagonals in that picture. Look at the diagonals of the arm and the legs. So that creates much more energy and movement and excitement in the artwork. Bernini uses curves and diagonals in his artwork to make things more exciting and dramatic. You can see the diagonal of the boat going up over a wave. And then that diagonal on the boat is repeated by the diagonal of the clouds in the sky. The diagonal of the cross being lifted up adds a lot of action and movement and drama to this image. And then also the diagonal of him being taken down from the cross also adds a lot of drama to this image. Look at the strong diagonal from the tip of his fingers down to the tip of her toes. There's a strong diagonal right there that helps make this picture look a little bit more exciting. There's also lots of curves in the fabric of the curtains and the sheets. And then you see the diagonals in the curtains as well. Even though these people are just standing there, but there's a lot of interest because of how they're posed. There's a lot of diagonals in the limbs of the people in this one. It adds to the drama of the piece. And then Lion Hunt by Rubens has a ton of diagonals in it. Adds to the drama. And it has lots of curves as well that also adds to the drama and action and energy of the piece. The diagonals and the curves of this Rubens painting adds to the drama and adventure and movement of the piece. And then we have a strong diagonal here of the land right across in our foreground. The diagonal of Adam's body from his shoulder down to his toe, and this slight curve right here makes it interesting to look at. And then there's a wonderful curve that goes down from her neck, down the body, down the knee, and then into the foot and down here. There's another wonderful curve that goes from her neck to the shoulder, down Christ's back, and into his leg right here. And so there's these wonderful curves in this picture that adds to the interest and movement of the picture. El Greco uses a lot of diagonals in his poses. Boucher certainly understands the importance of using a diagonal in his artworks as well. The diagonal of the swing. And then look at the figure down in the bushes. Like he has a strong diagonal with his arm out towards the swinger. And then this strong diagonal from the front of the train and up into the upper right-hand corner of the painting. And lots of diagonals in the limbs and people of this, as well as curved lines. So with Jericho, when he composed this image, definitely understood the importance of using diagonals and curves to make an exciting image. Richmond uses the curves and diagonals of the human body to make this figure. And like I said before, like a solitary sculpture of a figure could be very boring, but he adds diagonals and curves to make it more interesting. On the contest between Brunelleschi and Ghiberti, Brunelleschi used a strong diagonal in his artwork to express motion and movement, whereas Ghiberti used a curve to express movement and energy. And then there's a strong curve from the upper left to the lower right in Ghiberti's of this nice curve that helps guide the eye through the piece. These two are at a diagonal. It adds more interest and a visual excitement in the artwork to have these as diagonals. And the lots of diagonals in this one. And this one, like the figures on the left, the men are at sharp lines. They're straight diagonals, whereas the women are in curved lines. And there's a difference of energy between the diagonals of the left and then the curves on the right. Zigzag lines express chaos and confusion, nervousness and excitement. So, and with this mannerist piece, the zigzag of the human body helps to create this weird poses, and that is typical of mannerism. All right, contour drawing is drawing the outer edges or contours of an object. So we have the drawing of the shoes on the left. These are sandals. You can see all the details of it, but you don't know, what color are they, or where's the light coming from? With the guy on the left, you don't know what color his suit is. You don't know what kind of lighting situation. There's no shadow. There's no highlights. It's just the lines of the figure. We have it again here. This is a continuous contour where each drawing is done by one single line that is creating these values with these abstract little shapes in there. So Lichtenstein uses the strong contours because that is typical of the comic book image. They use contours for their artwork. With printmaking, they use contours in their artwork as well to make the images. Here's some more contours of an image. There's no color, there's no sense of shading other than these lines, but this is all done with contour. Another contour image. And then cross contour is when you take these lines and you go across, you follow the form of the object. And we see that a lot in the African art, where these parallel lines on the face that go, that give us the contours of the face. And then gesture drawing is a line drawing done quickly to capture the movement of a subject's body. And so usually gestures are synonymous with an interesting pose of a figure. So we have these strong gestures in these sculptures that people are doing these interesting poses. We have strong gestures in this David painting, the strong gesture of this pair. And we have strong gestures here where people have these wild kind of gestures. All right, that'll be it for line.